Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy, healthy start to this nice Friday morning over here. It's already Friday. I don't know how the hell that happened, but I guess time continues to keep on getting spun faster and faster. It's like every year that passes by my own life, it's like it's moving at the speed of light. It's insane, man. And there's gray hairs literally, well, where I actually have hairs because now it's literally like just falling out. But you know what? You know what? There are more important things in life, of which we can be talking about magic internet money today. And that is going to be the focus. A lot of new things as Bitcoin did get the breakout that we were looking for. We had the short-term time frame targets, now looking at the higher-term time frame targets, and then there will be some very long-term new analysis actually that I hope to get to on this video, assuming that doesn't take too long. Other than that, I should probably point out that yes, we do still have the sale going on for the next few days, of which I will always want to let you know that specifically for these two programs right here, the TA program and the options program, these are very long programs and big financial commitments as well. So please watch the promotional videos so that you understand, if it's even relevant to you, like, is this what you're looking for essentially, and make an educated decision for yourself based off that. And then, of course, we have our lovely support girls as well. Anyways, other than that, I think it's time to just jump into the actual analysis. Should probably show my Instagram. I've actually been doing a lot of just kind of short form updates there, especially in the morning. Just a very, very easy way to kind of get my thoughts out, especially when things kind of happen relatively fast and it doesn't really make sense to make a full-on YouTube video for it. But yeah, there is a link in the description below, of course, and I'll just leave that right there. Okay, so Bitcoin did get the short-term time frame breakout. We were looking at a 4-hour closure from a couple days ago above, I believe it was 20,550, or an hourly above 20,007 and change. Obviously, both of those were hit, I think even in the same fell swoop. Maybe the 4 hours actually first in this case. And that did initiate targets to the next medium-term time frame range highs, which is 22,500. That is thus far our high of the day, actually. Or I think it's of the day at least. And then more importantly, what would essentially beget conditions for, or what would validate conditions for continuation to the daily targets, essentially, which was about the $23,500 number in this blue box territory right here. Well, same thing, essentially. 4-hour closure on CME specifically above 22,300, or an hourly above today's high, which is 22,550 or so. Probably does it as well. Feel a lot more comfortable with a 4-hour. Here's the thing, though. Typically, after hitting an area like this, especially when you are looking at the medium-term time frame range highs in this case, probably going to be looking at a short-term time frame pullback, or at least a little more likely to see something like that. And do we have any other indications that a pullback is a little bit more likely in the short-term time frames? Yes. Well, or we likely do. Looking at the 6-hour stochastic momentum oscillator over here, we do see downside pressure with any sort of a closure below 21,960, which closes in about 2 hours, 48 minutes and 6 seconds. 4-hour closing at that same time as well will also turn down simultaneously with the 6-hour with any sort of a closure below 22,176, currently trading almost $200 below there, it looks like. 3-hour going to also be turning down, or I believe is already down. Yes, below 22,420, so a great number and also a nice little pivot there as well. And then the hourly is also coming down below 22,160. So that is to say, as long as Bitcoin especially closing those short-term timeframes below that region, more likely to pull back in the short term than not. Here's the thing though, just like before, when we're looking for a pullback is not the same thing as reversal. So now we'll set up some reversal conditions for this. Where essentially would this be destroyed? Well, very obviously below 20,200 in this case. I'd even go as far to say that with a 4-hour closure below yesterday's breakout area, about 20,600, that's not going to be the best sign, and probably not just going to be another higher low, or sorry, it's not going to be a higher low. It's probably going to be a bit of a reversal. I think that's less likely to happen. I think it's a little more likely to have like a shallow pullback here and then give another try to the upside, maybe coming into next week. But ultimately, that would be the area where I start to say, hey, this is a trap situation, not a continuation situation. But for right now, yeah, in the short-term time frames, probably a little more likely to pull back first. And then, for the boo law's sake, hopefully it's a shallow pullback. Shallow pullback being somewhere between about 21.5 to maybe as low as 21.1. That would look a lot better for the boo laws here, obviously. Anyways, other than that, what else should we get into? Well, I should denote that one of the other reasons why I'm not necessarily looking for a reversal here, although a pullback, it's probably in the cards, is this. 4-hour BBWP is still expanding, so this move I still do think overall has more juice in it. And then also the RSI, which is what I kind of use for a little bit more of trending price action, if you will, relative to that time frame. It's not really giving me any major warning signals just here. Obviously, there will not be any hidden bearish divergence potential in this particular case, as Bitcoin is already trading above all these past prior highs where the RSI was actually lower. So that is not a major consideration for right now. Again, my only major concerns would be below about 20,600 or so. Other than that, what else did I want to get into? Well, I think that's actually good enough for the short and medium term timeframes right there. And then, of course, if Bitcoin does get the next leg up, looking somewhere between about 23.3 to 23.5 or so. Does that not mean that Bitcoin can't try higher over time? Of course it can, but I want to see that level and sort of the interaction with price action amongst that level as well. Let me just make sure the next recording and the microphone's working. Okay, that is. That's really fucking good because don't like re-recording shit, that's for sure. But more importantly, let's now get into the higher term time frame. So first things first, I wanted to follow up on a lot of the daily signals that we've been looking at for a while now. And oh yeah, we actually did Bitcoin hit the 21 in this case. So yeah, a very obvious pullback region. And I believe we spoke about that in yesterday's video. Anyways, on the daily in this case, again, we saw the 1, 2, 3 drives of bullish divergence. We've hit the easy target from that, probably pulls back. And then if there is going to be continuation, 23.5 is kind of the obvious area essentially. And then the daily jewel, obviously this one got its good curvature as well, but it is getting around this fib area here. So likely going to see a bit of pushback, something like this. I'd imagine it's unlikely to like shoot on through like that, at least very, 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 very rarely. If I really even can't remember a time where I've even seen it go like that. But ultimately, maybe one or two more tries to the upside, and then probably does go into a bit of a sideways consolidation from there. And then, of course, what also should be known is that daily BBWP is coming off the lows right here. But just as my LARP lines kind of showed, I do expect kind of something like this. We're going to get this first move, which kind of fills out the daily range, and then it probably bases again. Because usually when it comes down sharp like this and then tries to expand from there, it's not like a macro move, if you will, or like a very, very powerful move. Like typically, you do a little bit more consolidation and contraction, and then you set up for like the move, which is a pretty damn big one. So still probably looking somewhere, I'd imagine, around like end of July. But again, timing really not my thing, nor do I think it can really be done, to be quite frank with you. Other than that, I wanted to bring back up this signal over here, and then we'll get into the new stuff. So this is the daily signal, and this is kind of one of the signals that's been giving us that major bias for upside continuation out of these lows. And what essentially is a signal? Well, anytime we've seen the daily stochastic momentum on CME get down to this green horizontal line that my cursor is currently on right now, there has been an average historical bounce of about just under 31%, and on average it takes about 14 days from that signal to the next high, if you will. It's happened 7 other times in Bitcoin's history, not including our current 8th time right here. And to measure it out and to put it into context right now, Bitcoin from that signal given to our current high has done about just under 22%, or basically 22% over the course of, let me actually see how many days here. Okay, 7 days. So basically half the time that we do kind of expect on average, statistically speaking. Again, there's going to be some variance in there. So 22% versus the historical of 31%. Is that comparable? Definitely starting to get there. Let's forecast what would actually look like if we traded up to, or if Bitcoin traded up to the daily range highs. That would be 25 and change percent, which I'd say that's very, very reasonable, seeing as there's a good amount of variance in a lot of these reads over here. There's some as high as like 50%. There's some as low as, just under 13%. So that would, to me, that would be reasonable. Now, if we were to play to the upper end of that average, or even just to the average, that being about 31% or so, that puts Bitcoin at about $24,500. And if we were to play on to like the upper end of that average, like let's just say it was 50% move, which I think is rather unlikely, but if it were to, would kind of make sense with a gap fill over here, to be fair, coming in from the early June gap down that we saw from June 10th, actually. So another area to keep an eye on. Now, I do want to present a bit of new, something new here, actually, of which that's going to be the 5-day stochastic momentum. And we're going to go here to spot price action, because it actually has a lot more history, obviously. And what I found is a similar analysis on the 5-day stochastic momentum oscillator, which anytime that we have come down, or not we, but Bitcoin has come down to this green horizontal bar right here, and the cross, and obviously 5 days stochastic has actually crossed up, then the average bounce from that level has been about 58.25%. I would say, however, I did exclude one of the results here because it was a massive outlier on the good end. It was like a fucking 250% move or something. So it's like, this is not consistent with the rest of the data. Probably shouldn't include it. So I just want to say that. The average time, however, was actually very consistent with the rest of the data. And so that was about, almost 30 days, basically, just over 29 days. Anyways, there it has happened. Let me count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in Bitcoin's history, the full history that is. And of course, if we were to take that from the actual bounce level, which would basically be the current low, what would 50% look like? That puts Bitcoin in the upper 20s, like 27,000 bucks. Again, there's variance in these reads. Is that like my biggest hopium that I can provide right now? Yes. Is that my first target? Fuck no. Is that any of my targets? Not even relevant at all whatsoever until Bitcoin is at minimum above the daily range highs, which is 23.5 on a closing basis. Until then, it's fun to look at. It's cool, or probably cool. I mean, I don't know. It's like, yeah, man, super fucking cool. Make sure to tell that to whoever you're talking to when you go to the bars tonight. It's like, did you know? It's like, get the fuck out of my face. Isn't crypto poor now? Anyways, we're talking about love right now. Anyways, so yeah, I guess that's kind of like the biggest hoping that I can have. I also want to do another check-in on this chart over here, and we'll just continue to follow up on this chart until we actually get the signal. It's basically the pi cycle low indicator, which has been pretty accurate at actually getting the macro lows. Problem is we only have 2 iterations of this working. Yeah, you could argue that a 3rd iteration over here probably did work out as well, but technically speaking, we didn't get the official signal for what it's worth. Mostly due to Bitcoin's immaturity at that time. But basically, the signal is when the green and the yellow moving averages cross the red, that signals the low, the pi cycle low at least. And 2 out of 2 times worked pretty fucking well. The pi cycle high worked, pretty damn well as well. In this case, why do I bring this up? Why do I even bother pointing this out? Well, that's because these moving averages continue to draw ever so closer with each and every passing day. I would still think maybe like 2 weeks, most likely, when these actually do cross. Maybe if like it's best case scenario, maybe 1 more week. And if it's like worst case scenario, probably, 3 to 4 weeks is what I guess. But ultimately, when this does fire off, it'll be very interesting to see where Bitcoin is at right now, because, for what it's worth, we do see our first higher low on the daily in place. It's barely a higher low, but it's in there. And I guess we'll kind of just see how the cookie crumbles from there. So a bit more hopium in that regard. To be fair, however, on the daily for CME, we don't have a higher high. We certainly don't have a higher high, but we also do not have a higher low as well. On the buy daily, same thing. I mean, even on the buy daily, it looked kind of weak right here, to be fair. So ultimately, these are kind of the areas that I'm watching. Again, big invalidations below about 20,600, I believe it was, or maybe 20,500, depending upon your time frame. On a closing basis. Until then, short term, probably tries a bit of a pullback, but ultimately it's still one massive range here. So with that said, I'll be signing off. Did I shill everything that I was supposed to shill? Did I do my Instagram? I think so. We spoke about the sale. Bybit, yep, you already know Bybit has they don't have a sale going on, but they do have a nice, actually very attractive promotion going on right now where you don't pay any fees on limit orders, basically. So 0% maker fee, assuming that you get filled off market. There is a link in the description below as well for that promotion. All right, cool. I'm signing off now. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.